pipelines. USEA's other member that is dealing with the delivery of fuel to move our national economy and energy and ensure our energy security. Andrew, welcome to the State of the Energy Industry Forum, and I look forward to your remarks.
Thank you, Will. Sound check. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. And thanks to you and your colleagues at USEA and for all who have turned in. AOPL, the Association of Oil Pipelines, represents pipeline operators who deliver energy liquids from where they're produced to where they're turned into useful products and on to us where we need and use them. We bring crude oil to our nation's refineries, deliver refined products like gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel to communities, and transport natural gas liquids like propane and ethane to heat rural homes and supply raw materials for manufacturing. The mission of AOPL is to achieve responsible public policies, continuous improvement in pipeline safety, and public support and trust for liquid pipelines. I've got 3 main points today. 1, pipelines are the most sustainable way to deliver the energy liquids we need. 2, liquid pipelines are part of our clean energy future. And 3, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission policies matter to delivering environmental and consumer benefits. We Americans need the energy that pipelines deliver, and we need a lot of it. There are 200 million cars and trucks on the road, and they consumed more than 140 billion gallons of gasoline in 2019. Together, we Americans make 20 million visits to a gasoline station each day. There are other ways to deliver all this energy, like trains and trucks, but none of them can handle this volume. Over 13 trains, each a mile long with 100 rail cars, are needed to equal the volume of what one large pipeline delivers on a single day. We would need over 4,000 trucks to match the volume of one large pipeline's single-day shipments. In 2019, pipelines delivered nearly 14 billion barrels of crude oil and nearly 9 billion barrels of refined products. Only pipelines, our national network of 200,000 miles of liquid pipelines, have the capacity to deliver the energy America needs. Luckily, not only are pipelines the most effective way to deliver the energy America needs, pipelines are also the most sustainable way to deliver energy. Pipelines deliver liquid energy using the least amount of greenhouse gas emissions with the lowest impact on the environment. Compared to trains or trucks, pipelines emit the lowest amount of greenhouse gases. Trains and trucks both emit more GHGs than pipelines, 42% more from rail and 467% more from trucks. Pipelines also have fewer safety incidents and less product released compared to these other modes of transportation. Government review of a major pipeline project found the probability of an incident was 800 times greater by rail than pipeline. That review also found that transporting the same amount of product by rail would result in 2.6 times more crude oil released into the environment. The world needs us to deliver energy with the lowest impact to communities and the environment and the least amount of greenhouse gases emitted. Liquid pipelines are the sustainable energy delivery choice. Liquid pipeline operators know we also have a part to play in reducing GHG emissions while providing affordable and reliable energy. Operators avoid many direct emissions by using electricity to power most of their pumps. Liquid pipeline operators are reducing indirect emissions by focusing on operating efficiently, using less electricity through drag reducing agents, variable speed pumps, and targeted product delivery strategies. We can also use pipelines to deliver cleaner fuels to help others reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Liquid pipelines reduce third-party emissions by allowing consumers across the globe to replace dirtier fuels with cleaner burning and lower GHG emitting American energy. Not only are pipelines the most sustainable way to deliver energy today, pipelines are part of our clean energy future. The time it takes us to transition to a clean energy economy will need continued delivery of traditional fuels. 90% of cars sold today run on gasoline and diesel. Energy use scenarios to meet even aggressive climate goals still assume that more than half of the vehicles sold in 2030 will use conventional fuels like gasoline and diesel. The outlook for jet fuel use is even higher and longer. As we make the transition away from traditional fuels, pipelines will deliver more and more future fuels. America is producing and using more and more biofuels, which travel through pipeline. Sustainable aviation fuels will become more common and will travel through liquid pipelines. Farther into the future, hydrogen, in its most energy-dense form, can move as a liquid through pipelines. Hydrogen carriers like ammonia are liquids when they're transported through pipelines and can be transported by pipelines in high volumes. We will also need pipelines to transport captured carbon to its permanent storage location. Not only do we need to capture carbon from electricity generation, the industrial sector making steel, aluminum, cement, and plastics will all need pipelines to take away the carbon captured from their operations. AOPL today has member companies who transport carbon dioxide by pipeline. In any clean energy scenario, our nation will see a large build-out of our carbon dioxide pipeline network. As we transition to a clean energy future, we need to be mindful of the costs imposed on consumers. This is a time when we are all concerned about inflation and high energy costs. Americans get worried when supply of energy is uncertain or prices for energy are too high. In this time of concerns about inflation, energy prices, and greenhouse gas emissions, it's very important that we get our energy policies right. The policies of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, have been instrumental in expanding our nation's pipeline network and supporting its continued operations. FERC policies will continue to play a key role in our pipeline network, bringing Americans the energy they need. AOPL urges FERC to stay the course of an oil pipeline rate index that reflects actual operating costs, incentivizes efficiencies to the benefit of both the environment and consumers over the long term, and does not threaten energy reliability. Most oil pipelines operate under price cap regulation through the seemingly mundane FERC Oil Pipeline Rate Index. FERC dictates that maximum rates rise and fall pursuant to an industry-wide index as cost changes and fall. This has two purposes. First, providing pipelines the opportunity to recover costs consistent with changes in inflation. And second, providing shippers the benefits of efficiencies through lower rates. Index rates fell last July due to lower inflation, will increase this upcoming July due to higher inflation, and may fall again next year if inflation decelerates, as many expect. FERC reviews oil pipeline cost changes compared to economy-wide cost changes, reflected in the Bureau of Labor Statistics Producer Price Index for finished goods. FERC uses this Producer Price Index for finished goods, shorthanded as PPI-FG, as the base economic indicator for the oil pipeline index. And pipeline rate caps are adjusted annually based on the change in PPI-FG. We're all hearing about the high cost for energy, for skilled labor in this time of employment churn, and for many other business units, inputs. This is captured in PPI-FG. Liquid pipelines are facing higher costs, like many American businesses, and energy and labor are major spending categories for pipelines. FERC index reviews have found that oil pipeline costs have increased roughly 1.25% to 2.5% above the change in PPI-FG over the past 15 years. While using PPI-FG as a base economic indicator for oil pipeline price cap regulation, FERC has consistently recognized that oil pipeline costs have increased more rapidly than PPI-FG. For the last 15 years, FERC has thus instituted an adder to PPI-FG to better reflect oil pipeline cost changes in price cap regulation. In the last 5-year review of the rate index in December of 2020, FERC again said there should be an adder, but decreased it to below 1%. Proposals under FERC's consideration ignore FERC's past recognition that pipeline costs with their maintenance and safety operations are increasing faster than inflation. FERC also has a history through the rate index of incentivizing efficiency savings, producing benefits to both the environment through lower energy use and emissions output, and to consumers through lower costs and rates over the long term. Price cap rate making incentivizes pipelines to operate efficiently. The incentive to operate efficiently creates societal benefits beyond these lower rates for shippers. Oil pipelines are some of the largest consumers of electricity to power their pumps. Enhanced operating efficiencies means less energy use in pipeline operations, which means fewer greenhouse gas emissions. Potential unwise changes to the oil pipeline rate index would undermine these economic incentives to further the environmental gains and could hurt consumers. FERC has before it now request to change its order from the most recent 5-year index and reduce the adder further or eliminate it entirely. Proposals under FERC consideration assume master limited partnership oil pipeline operators received a decrease in income tax costs that never actually occurred for them. Adopting such proposals would undermine FERC's regulatory goals by not allowing the index to keep pace with industry cost changes. It is important that FERC continue the success of data-driven reviews to set an industry-wide index that accurately reflects industry-wide cost changes. There's a balance in price cap regulation. If the index is too high, shippers will file complaints and protests against a specific pipeline, and FERC can review that. If the index is too low, then pipeline operators may seek a cost of service rate for adequate cost recovery. Overall, in the past, FERC seems to have gotten it about right because complaints, protests, and liquid pipeline cost of service filings are few and far between. However, if FERC fails to continue to hit the sweet spot and more cost of service is employed, the incentives to operate efficiently and the associated benefits like reduced energy use and reduced emissions are undermined. It is important for FERC continue to hit that sweet spot because if pipelines conclude that index regulation does not allow for the opportunity of adequate cost recovery, two bad things can happen. First, a pipeline operator could determine that some elements of pipeline service are uneconomic in hopes of avoiding getting embroiled in a lengthy, costly, and uncertain cost of service filing. The pipeline might choose to save costs by reducing services for pipeline shippers, like closing some distribution terminals while keeping others open. This could mean higher costs for customers to access fuels using other modes more, with potentially less reliability. Again, if FERC were to lower the oil pipeline rate index to not keep up with inflation or reflect actual pipeline costs, it would threaten to force a pullback of services. Operators could face the impossible situation of newly uneconomic operations at certain locations. Now is not the time to hurt energy reliability or availability to customers. Second, pipelines concluding the index does not allow for the opportunity of cost recovery may seek to switch to cost of service regulation, despite the length, cost, and uncertainty of such a proceeding. Cost of service, while the predominant form of rate making for electric and natural gas utilities, does not fit in the more competitive oil pipeline industry. Because in cost of service regulation, the incentives to operate efficiently and use less energy are undermined. The environment and all industry participants are helped by pipelines remaining under index regulation. Index regulation maintains the focus on operating efficiencies. A FERC rate index that is too low and forces pipeline operators to switch to a cost of service model deprives the public and the environment of these benefits. Index regulation needs to work to further the environmental and economic benefits our nation enjoys through liquid pipeline transportation. AOPL will continue to engage with FERC's commissioners to explain how its policies have achieved environmental and consumer benefits for cents per gallon as the lowest cost and most sustainable way to deliver the energy liquids we need. And as part of our clean energy future, it is important that liquid pipelines continue to serve Americans and that public policies at FERC and elsewhere get it right. Thank you again, Will, and to USEA for what you do and for this opportunity.
Andrew, thank you for bringing us these important messages about the importance of the liquid pipelines to our economy, to our energy security, and the importance of what is to some arcane rate-making methodologies, but the importance of it to sustaining our infrastructure. I appreciate that. I have time for one question for you, which is on a subject you didn't touch on, but I wanted to touch on it with you. It's related to cybersecurity. Last year, I think was one of your members was attacked. We lost the services of the pipeline. I was wondering if you might tell us a little bit about the lessons learned and what your membership is doing to reinforce the cybersecurity of its assets.
Well, we've learned this year and in years past that pipelines and many other American businesses and governments are under attack frequently from cyber attack, and that it's important to be ready. The oil pipeline sector works together to implement quality cybersecurity protections like the framework for the National Institute of Standards and Technology, work closely with government to learn about threats. That's been a very successful collaboration. We work with the Transportation Security Administration on cyber protections and are implementing aggressive cybersecurity directives that they have implemented, and we will continue that. No one's eye is off of this ball. The federal government can do its part by stopping actors in other states from threats that are difficult for pipeline operators to go after themselves. So we're all in this fight. It's important. I should probably use this as an opportunity to say that opportunity for cost recovery from FERC funds items like cybersecurity investments, which we want pipeline operators to make. It's crucial. Thank you, Will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was going to make that same segue and forgot that, in the rates, we have to build in the capacity to protect our infrastructure from cyber attacks. So
Yes.
I really appreciate the messaging and bringing to our community the importance of the work that you do. Thanks for joining us, and I look forward to talking with you again in the near future.
Thank you, Will.